This is the 8-9 combo. I'm Brett McKay. This is Harry Jones, and this is Games of the Week. Hello, mate. We're here at the end of the week again.
How's it, Brett? I'm at a international convention of fixers in New York City, and I have to admit that I've done some very bad things. But I'm ready to make atonement on this podcast. I really like Games of the Week.
Yeah,
However, I think like the rest of fans watching these autumn series, we have really no idea what's going to happen. So take everything we are about to say with a grain of salt.
just writing down grains of salt for the record.
I mean,
That's
teams are on the
great.
way up. Some teams are tired. Some teams are excited. And the one thing is for
Yeah,
sure, if anyone thinks there's going to be a grand slam where none of the Southern Hemisphere teams will ever lose to any of the Northern, I'm sure this is the
forever
backlash
again.
weekend.
Yes, no, they will.
This feels like the oh no, you got ahead of yourself weekend.
Yes, we'll get into this. It's the end of another rugby week, so make sure you do go back and find episode 40 of the 8-9 Combo Rugby podcast with Charlie Morgan from the Telegraph. Another great rugby chat, looking back on a big weekend of the Northern Spring Autumn Tour series, in which the Southern Hemisphere left some pretty big statements in their wake. But I agree with you. There's bound to be a reaction this weekend somewhere, maybe more than one. So
Yeah.
yes, I think you're right. So let's get into the games of the week then. It kicks off on Friday night in Dublin, Ireland v Argentina at the Aviva, 8:10 kickoff local time. So they'll be finished work in Dublin. They'll head down to the ground. There'll be a couple of beers on the way. They'll be primed again by kickoff.
I feel like Ireland faces 33 tons of pressure. Um, it's really amazing to be around the Irish fans, be having been in Dublin and feel this kind of angst building of
Yes.
have we done enough reloading? Were we too much wedded to this pick best available? You know, a little bit here, a little bit there, but there's the main body of is it Cian Healy, Peter O'Mahony, Ian Anderson, and Connor Murray? That's our bomb squad. That sounds like, you know, bombs that were launched by Sherlock Holmes or something. You know, it doesn't feel like there's enough explosive power. The second thing I will say is um, all the coaching staffs have various levels of pressure this week. And I think I'm going to say, based on my reaction, the reactions I saw at the Viva, I feel like Andy Farrell and his crew might have the most. And I'm including
Yeah.
now the great lock, Paul O'Connell, who's facing a lot of whispers of great player, but is he really a good
Yeah. Right.
coach? Do we miss Mike Catt? There's a lot of this kind of whispering going on. And you and I both know that when that whispering goes on too long in a place like Ireland that's, you know, used to now being top, if they were to stumble against Argentina, so we
Yeah.
know Argentina is good, but the people in the Aviva and people in Dublin haven't necessarily absorbed that as much. And so
Well, the
it'll
question
feel
there will
like
be,
we lost to Argentina at home.
yeah, the question there will be, yeah, we know we put 50 on Italy, but everyone's put 50 on Italy. So,
Yeah.
how much will they actually put into last week's result? It will that's going to be curious. I completely agree with you. The danger for Ireland is that they will completely underestimate Argentina. I completely agree with you.
Yeah. And I think like the smart pundits, the ones I listen to, Murray Kinsella, Bernard Jackman, those guys, they absolutely know
The
that
ones that drive you
Argentina,
to the airport.
they absolutely know that Argentina's trouble.
Yes.
Like they are, this is the one game that they're actually sweating on the most. They knew they could lose the All Blacks. Everyone knew that. But this one would send, you know, it would be like, oh no, we're 0-2. You know, is the reign of Andy Farrell crumbling? There'll be all those kind of things
Yeah.
because it will not feel right. We, having watched and endured the Rugby Championship, knowing that both the Box and the Wallabies lost to Argentina, they're a proper squad. They went to
Yeah.
New Zealand and they won handily.
Yeah.
So shouldn't be a surprise. Will be a surprise if they win.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's probably fair. We mentioned from time to time that we're sometimes blessed with our timings for recordings. Other times it works against us. And it's going to work against us for games of the week, mostly for this next few weeks, because we've not seen a lot of teams. Ireland and Argentina have named theirs, but we've not seen any of the other teams as yet. So that's obviously going to make other games a little bit more difficult to talk about. But Ireland's naming their team has unveiled a few curious little selections. So Bundyaki gone at 12. Robbie Henshaw's back there for Ireland. Forward pack looks pretty untouched otherwise. But on the bench, new tight head prop by the looks of it, new reserve lock, and all new backs. No Conor Murray. Casey's back there. Young Prendergast on debut in for Kieran Frawley. Osborne played last week.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He did, yeah. So, is that there's a fine line between let's try a few new blokes and we need to send a few statements from the selection table from last week as well, I think there. So we'll see. It looks like a pretty decent Los Pumas side. Gajo, Montoya, Scalvi up front. Petty, Rubiolo, Matera, Oviedo, Gonzalez back row. Gonzalez in number 7. I'm sure I've seen him in 6 and 8. I can't remember him seeing him in 7 before, but we've talked about the everyone take one step to the left selection of the Argentinian back row before.
Yeah, Juan Martin looks comfortable in any position. He's one of those guys who could be the mythical creature of the forward back. He could play forward back because he really is fine in space and quick.
Yeah, he could play inside centre, it feels like. I'm not suggesting
for sure.
he moved to 12, but
it was
he definitely could.
Well, the wonderful team try. I thought one of the best tries of the weekend, last weekend, and Juan Martin was right in the thick of it. The ball went through 10 RG's hands before Delgui slid into score. It was a wonderful try. Everyone go back and look at that. Right.
Yeah, I've only seen a few highlights.
Farrell has been wedded to that old school thing of continuity. Believes in it. Believes that the incumbent gets a little bit of the benefit of the nod. You have to knock the champion out to get his crown, his ring, whatever. So with Bundyaki being dropped altogether, there is an accountability there. And I thought that Aki was a bit lazy against the All Blacks. Henshaw is not a lazy player. And so I think the signal here is work rate, and he wants bodies up off the floor. He wants people available. And that's what I'm trying to – I think that they're going to try to work their way through this. I would imagine practices for the Irish team this week have been the most miserable experiences.
Yeah, they've been flogged this week.
Yeah.
Though perhaps not flogged as much as England has been, and we'll get to them in a short moment. Other games on Saturday, Hong Kong are playing Brazil again in Hong Kong. That looks to be a little bit of a series going on there. The Netherlands hosting Chile in Amsterdam. Japan host Uruguay in Chambéry, France. And that's a double header with USA and Tonga on after it. Spain, Fiji in Valladolid. I'm sure I've not said that right. Scotland, Portugal at Murrayfield is just curious enough to be any kind of game it could possibly be.
Not much pressure on Scotland at all right now.
No.
It seems like Gregor Townsend can always produce a mediocre set of results every year, and for some reason there's never any pressure on him. He's a well-liked guy, and they give him lots of excuses. The USA Tonga game is one for me. I have a special relationship with Tonga.
Of course you do.
And also with the Eagles.
And USA Rugby, yeah.
And USA beat Portugal a week ago, and nicely, 21-7. It was a proper win in Portugal, which is difficult to do. So actually, this is the first moment where I'm going to say, everyone watch the Eagles and just keep an eye on them. They've got a new coach. They have some significant talent. They have a good leader, AJ McGinty, is a very good fly-off. And a very sizable, malicious, mean-spirited pack.
Yes, indeed. And Tonga were the one Southern Hemisphere team to blot the copybook last week. They went down to Romania. So, that's not a bad show. I feel like it's a bit of a free hit for Scotland, but Portugal will go. Why not? Why not
On
us?
the big poster outside Murrayfield, I saw that each fixture was listed there, beautiful graphics, and then had a red placket saying "sold out," for the games, and the one that wasn't sold out was Portugal. So hopefully enough Portuguese come over and boost that and turn it into a sellout.
Absolutely.
Because these sellouts are really the interesting thing. These big crowds, jumping ahead a little bit to your Wallabies. It must be nice for the Wallabies to play in front of 60,000, 80,000, 50,000. For some of these players, it's not like that's been the thing that they've gotten. And
No.
It's the one thing that when they're doing the recruiting wars with league, they can always promise you, like, hey, you can go to Twickenham and have 80,000 people watching.
85,000. Yeah, you can play in front of the State of Origin crowd. It's a good point. And look, there's been a bit of back and forward on that front too. And I've got to say, Australian football code wars are just the most boring thing you can get into. It's actually more cringy when it's high ranking, high profile.
The head of leaders.
Yeah. Anyway, Saturday evening, very early Sunday morning for me is two games back to back. And they are both going to be rippers. England v South Africa at Twickenham Stadium, Saturday, 5:40 local time. It's 4:40 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. If, like me, you'll be setting the alarm for a few minutes before that. That is going to be an interesting game because I think there is not much doubt that Steve Borthwick is under a bit of pressure this weekend. He needs to prove, probably above all else, needs to prove that last weekend was a one-off.
Yeah, there's three pieces of evidence we have here. One, in the Times of London, when I opened the pages, the rugby, you don't want to see if you're Steve Borthwick waking up with your crumpets and baked beans and toast and blood sausage. You don't want to see your name and the RFU board in the same sentence. It doesn't matter what they say. You just don't want to see the two in juxtaposition. Second,
and you certainly don't want the word. You don't want RFU board and your name being separated by the word backs.
I think it doesn't even matter what's in there. Just don't see the two things in one headline. Yeah. Second, I think the Springboks pose a remarkable problem for England when they try to do what they're probably likely to do, which is let's get back to our roots. Let's be physical. We've got to fix our scrum. Like all these things go, and then you run into like a big lorry just running over you. If you could do that same thing against even a very good team, but maybe it would be Ireland or maybe New Zealand, it's not the best one to get physical with. Let's get physical with the Boks. There's matchup problems there. The third thing is Rossi Erasmus has been quite upfront that the entire tour rests on this match. That's why he played such a weird experimental team last week. That's why I
can imagine we'll see the first 15 again this week.
He juggled everything in terms of timing. He said in post-conference, he said, I wanted to have the freshest team for England with a 6-day turnaround because it was a late Sunday night game. So I think all these conspire to give Borthwick a mountain to climb. And Twickenham Man, we know about Twickenham Man, is once they start to become restless and they got, burrs in the saddle, this itchies, things are itching them in their loafers. They're difficult to satisfy. They're like one of the most patient fan bases. And then at some point, they just get cross and stay cross. And so I think Borthwick will be, he's deeply English enough to know that inside the soul of Twickenham Man, if there's a soul in there, they've had enough.
Yeah.
They want to see, and I think they could lose. I think it's okay for them to lose, but they need to see proper defense.
It'll be how they lose. Yeah. They can't lose to South Africa the same way they lost to Australia.
Well, just the amount of points. I mean, it's entertaining as hell for the neutral, and it was for the Wallabies. But imagine that. I mean, imagine
Yeah.
being, let's all try to make ourselves English now, but be an English fan. That's got to be just excruciating to see your guys under the sticks. What was it, 5 times? It's
Yeah,
insane. Yeah.
5 tries all. Yeah, yeah. So thinking about this contest, I know that Rassi's going to make changes. He's going to make changes. We will see, as I say, the first 15 come back for this game. But then I think about the other side of the contest, and I don't know what changes Borthwick can make that makes that England team definitely better than what only just lost to Australia last weekend. And that's got to be the concerning bit for Twickenham Man.
Well, yeah, I think the prevailing sentiment of Twickenham Man is stop making George Ford an appendage, a fixture at the end. So it might be by subtraction. It's like you don't even need that on the bench. Marcus Smith can run 80 minutes. It's not like he lacks for fitness. So there are options there, of course. There's Finn Smith. There's also Freddie Stewart. There's a few people in the back line you could imagine them juggling. But you're right about the forward pack. The forward pack is the forward pack. And it's not a bad forward pack.
And that's where I was going to go. Does he need to fight fire with fire a bit and go 6-2 potentially? Does he need to have an extra fresh forward, knowing that there'll be probably 6 Box coming at them somewhere between 48th and 54th minute?
So the curious thing for all Bockologists is, for some reason, Erasmus doesn't do 7-1 or even 6-2 against England very often. It's the only team, for some reason, and no one can figure it out. Listen, people much smarter than me and who are obsessive about tactical shifts are trying to figure out why the Springboks feel like 5-3 is good against England.
I'm still trying to work out why he played 7-1 against Scotland. But anyway, that's another chat for another day.
That had to do less with Scotland and more with the 6-day turnaround and saying, I want to have 3 fresh packs to choose from. And it worked out. The doctor said, no niggles, nothing. So it's one of the first times in ages where he can pick Tank Toy or he can pick Wilco Lowe. Wilco Lowe is a really good scrummaging prop who hasn't got a shot. And he was one of the most destructive props in England for scrummaging. So, I think Borthwick is going to have to just go with his guys. If there's one person that's missing, it's glaring, it's Sam Underhill. Sam Underhill is not only a good tackler, he's also good over the ball.
Surely he comes in.
Has to.
With Tom Curry being out, I mean, Ben Curry is obviously an option, but surely too many back rowers got sat down last week. Curry got sat down, Ben Earl got sat down. They need someone with, as you said it earlier in the week, or maybe it was on the chat group or somewhere, at some point in the last week and a bit, or the last 4 days, you have said to me, they need Sam Underhill's shoulder.
Yeah, concrete shoulder, man. And he's also good over the ball. He's actually got a really good high rate of that. He's playing really well. It's to me, when you're a Bok fan, you look around other teams and there's people like Sam Underhill and you go, yeah, proper guy. Like he could be a Bok. He looks like a guy who has no conscience, no fear for his own personal safety.
Hard as.
And I think if you can add a guy like that to Maro Itoje, who's playing really well, but he's being let down by some of his mates, then you can have a proper contest. I suppose the thing about England is they cannot grow a backup set of props overnight, and that's
that's very true.
Late game scrum penalties has been the death of so many teams.
Dan Cole has had an amazing career, but it only occurred to me watching replay again Monday, funnily enough, that Cole had 18 on his back, so he's actually switched sides.
Swing prop
at some point. Yeah. So anyway, when you do go back and check out episode 40 with Charlie Morgan, listen particularly to what he was saying about the England forwards and the work rate of George Martin he mentioned, and the impact that's having on the likes of Itoje and Cunningham South and all that. So it was a great chat with Charlie, and it's done gangbusters on YouTube and on pod as well. France v New Zealand at the Stade de France in Paris, 9:10 p.m. local time. That's That's breakfast rugby right here in Australia, 7:10 a.m. Happy days for that. Curious game. This, I've said it, I don't know how many times over the last 10 or 12 years. I don't know what France are going to give us from one week to the next. But I know it'll be good against New Zealand.
I mean, to be honest, because I think Ireland will take care of Argentina because they're so desperate, and because I think South Africa will give England a proper hiding. I actually think this is my game of the week.
Yeah, right.
I think I'm enjoying watching these All Blacks that are full of vengeance and spite and shit talk and social media, and the coach and the union has allowed players to be more expressive and be more chirpy and cheeky. I actually think this will be a bad-blooded game. I also think that neither coach is really facing any pressure anymore. Razor took so much pressure off him and put it all on Borthwick and Farrell. So Borthwick and Farrell are the pressure coaches this week. But I don't think either one of them. So I think it'd be a really entertaining. And I think games from France, when they face a team like All Blacks, are wonderfully produced. Mysteriously missing camera footage sometimes, but the angles, they are so good. They really know how to make something look beautiful. So I'm like you. I don't know how to predict this game, and that's why I think it's the game.
Yeah, just on that, and I don't know whether it's the RFU specifically or whether it's Six Nations Inc. and this is something that they're doing for the Autumn Nations series. Some of the social media videos that come out of England, Australia last week, particularly end-on shots, little narrow reels where they interspersed quick actions, slow actions, so you can highlight that little deft pass or that dive. Some of the stuff that's been produced in the last week or so has been absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, if the rugby matches it again this week, that's going to be interesting. What will be interesting for New Zealand? Cody Taylor will definitely come back in. Where does Scott Robertson slide Beauden Barrett back into the side? Does he put him back at 15 to be the safety net? Does he actually realise that Damien McKenzie played a really, really good game without the safety net? Is this the realisation that, by having Barrett there, he might actually be making life difficult for the guy that you're entrusting to run the show?
Okay, so here's the thing. I really love Will Jordan, and Will Jordan is a wonderful strike rate runner, but he doesn't have perfect positioning at fullback. And Ireland didn't exploit that. They were, you could see it on the ground in Aviva so many times that Will was having to catch up or was unsure. Beauden Barrett will know where to be, and against the French, the kicks are longer, and they will find those awkward spots. They just, Ramos or Dupont has a cannon boot, and their fly-offs are really good at finding spots that are kind of diagonals, and they spend a lot of time analyzing, the French do, on these kicking qualities, and that's one of their big stats. Like on their Monday mornings, they have a lot of kick quality stats in Le Figaro or L'Equipe. So I think it's a danger to expose Will Jordan to sort of his first big problematic game if you leave him there. So I think it's at fullback that I want the old wise man who's seen it all, done it all. Beauden Barrett's like, I'm not sure he's as quick as Will Jordan, but he's really knows where the ball's going to be.
Yeah. Does Jordan switch back to the right wing?
I would put Jordan either at wing or have him be my player 23 for that moment of magic, because I think in late games, Will Jordan is such a scary creature to see him in the back.
Yeah. That's not a bad shout. Yeah. We'll see how that plays out. Italy host Georgia in Geneva Sunday, 2:40 p.m. The England A Australia 15 game at the Twickenham Stoop in London is 3:00 Sunday afternoon. That's 2 a.m. Monday morning in Australia. No, I've got that wrong, actually. Check local guides for that.
Are you watching that?
Well, I think there's actually a little bit of overlap with the Australia game. I think England A Australia 15 is 1 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, and then that actually leads into Wales and Australia and the Wallabies in Cardiff, 4:10 p.m. local time, 3:10 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time on Monday. I'm really, really keen to watch the first 10 or 15 minutes really, really closely, because that will show whether the Wallabies are going, no, we are still on here. We're like last week, yep, it was good, but we're still going. What I don't want to see in those first 10 or 15 minutes is, a little bit of, laziness about the ruck and if Wales scored a try in those first 15 minutes, that's not panic stations, but that's squeaky bum time for Australia, because they need to really back that win up.
Yeah, I've got two sides of my brain here talking, and they're having arguments. The one side is telling me, no, these are the new Wallabies. They've kicked those bad habits of reversion to the mean. There'll be no cards. There'll just be 7, 8 penalties only, and nobody's going to, get overdone at set piece. The other side of my brain, the other brain is going,
what if they don't?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
First of all, that is a proper Welsh pack. I mean, Wales is in trouble.
Yeah.
But the thing about Wales, about a team in trouble at their home ground, but you still have Rowlands, and you have Rafael, and you have Dewey Lake, and you have
and that's
proper.
That's actually a point. He's named his team well early. See, because you're right, we've got the team. Both and Jack Morgan back at 7, Wainwright at 8.
Jack Morgan, wonderful player.
Proper back row. Yeah.
Tommy Rafael on the bench. There's just, you look at that and you go, Will Rowlands is one of the really wonderful maul defense guys, line-out guys. I mean, what's not to like about that when you look at the Welsh pack? There's some problems in the back line, but that pack, you go, on the wrong day, if the Wallabies don't get it right, and there's some, negative rugby being played by Wales, and it doesn't feel like the fun 42-37 game, but it's a 7 to 4, 10-3, whatever, that kind of game. Ooh.
What the Wallabies don't want is another repeat of the 2 games in July where they won, and they won by 12 and 15, but they only won them in the last 10 minutes. Like, this needs to be being decided early.
It feels like it'll be like that game. I feel like it will.
I hope you're right.
I think it's going to be more like gripping for a while. And I just say this: it's because I think Wales, when they really tap into their roots, they're best at making everything less attractive. I mean, I think even in life, in culture, I think they can like minimize and talk things down and go, well, you're not that great.
No, look.
Hi,
the one thing
Joseph, my good friend Joseph, they'll welcome him, but it won't be the welcome he experienced.
Welcome to Cardiff.
Yeah,
yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Look, I agree with you. The one thing Wales always seem to do well, and it doesn't matter what their form line is coming in, they always seem to match up pretty well with Australia. And that's been the case for 15 years. Even when Australia won 10 tests in a row, they weren't easy. And Wales were winning Grand Slams, and they were not winning a game in Six Nations tournaments sometimes through there. Equally, Wales win 5 or 6 on the trot, and it's Australia that's on the pump. So it'll be a contest. I've got no doubt it'll be a contest.
That's why it's weird that result in Lyon a year ago, because actually they're almost never like that.
That's the outlier. That's the outlier result. Yeah. Completely agree. Test match post-mortem will be back late Saturday, very late Saturday night. In fact, in Europe, we're going to do England, South Africa, and France, New Zealand. We'll include them both in the test match post-mortem. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be the early hours of Sunday morning in Australia and New Zealand. The top 14, the URC, the ERC, and the Premiership are all obviously on hold for a few weeks through the Automation Series, which means that's full time, mate, on another Games of the Week. It is another really big, really curious weekend of rugby awaiting us.
Go the South. Keep it going. I'm really enjoying the backfighting, the circular firing squads of the North. It's been really fun to watch.
I love the whole. I love the whole. Yay! Southern Hemisphere dominance, and the Northern Hemisphere types are going. What about Tonga?
What about
All right. Yeah, all right.
and the recriminations about the evil, despicable, sinister bomb squad and how it's ruining rugby,
Oh, yes.
without pointing out that South Africa started a very small pack. Kwagga Smith, Bongi, these are short guys. Marco van Staden.
Yeah.
This is not a massive puck. So
It's outrageous, Harry. They
long
shouldn't
may
be allowed to
rugby
get away with it.
live on the tactical nuances,
Yeah.
because within the 8-person bench, it's interesting. You have so many things you can do. Let's do them. Yeah.
You know who didn't run 7 forwards on the bench ever, Harry? William Webb Ellis. He didn't stand for that kind of thing.
Well, there were some games in the early days of rugby where there were 55 people on the field.
I was going to say, yeah. He didn't have He didn't have 7 forwards on the bench because he had 25 forwards on the bench. Exactly. Anyway, tell us what you think about Games of the Week right here on the 8-9 Combo YouTube channel. Hit the 8-9 Combo up on the socials. You can tell Harry and I in our usual places as well. If you're in the blue sky thing, we're kind of dabbling a little bit.
I started the blue sky a little bit this week, but
I did.
I don't know if I'm supposed to have a
I did
different
too.
personality. Like it's like
No.
I don't know. I haven't found my feet yet.
We're going to try and do We're going to try and do the same thing over there. So if you are dabbling over there with us, check us out, and we'll keep carrying on over there as well. Do make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. You're following on the pod platforms wherever you tune in, and make sure you've got your notifications and all that sort of stuff all turned on, however you do consume. This is Games of the Week from the 8-9 Combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realize you needed, coming from the podcast double act you already had. I'm Brett McKay. He's Harry Jones, and we'll be back in your ears with the test match post-mortem following England, South Africa, and France, New Zealand.
Come play with us. It was Churchillian.